So I use Lightroom to edit all of my sessions. It's part of the Adobe suite. You can get it as a package with Photoshop and all the things, or you can just get it by itself on the way. Okay, so this is what Lightroom looks like from the inside. And you can see I already uploaded all of her images, and these are raw. These are straight out of camera, no edits made, no crops, nothing. And so in Lightroom, you can see a number of things over on the right-hand side. There's temperature. So if I play with this, I can make it like super yellow, or I can scroll down and make it super blue. I really wouldn't want to do either of those things. But I do want to adjust it so that it's a little bit warm because that's just my style. And then exposure, I'm sure you are familiar with what exposure is, but you can adjust the exposure pretty intensively, as well as I really don't mess with contrast. I will mess with highlights a little bit, and I will mess with shadows. And once in a while, I'll mess with whites and blacks, but I'm really only going to play with a few things in this palette up top. And then there's all kinds of things down below. I generally raise the exposure a little bit because I like my images to be light and bright. I usually raise the shadows a little bit because that takes away any dark shadows under people's eyes and that kind of stuff. I will oftentimes raise the clarity just a little bit so that it looks even more clear, or I will dehaze, which means if there's like a sun flare or anything, it'll help get rid of that. I've created my own preset that I use to start with so that I can click on one button and it will import all the settings that I generally use on my images. And just from that, I'm relatively happy with this image. I might drop the exposure just a little bit because it's a little bright. And I might warm it up just a little bit. So raise this temperature. You can also change the green and magenta. And then I like to zoom in and make sure we're nice and clean and crisp. This one's pretty clear, but it's not as clear as some of them I would like to be. And you can see there are a few blemishes. You know, we're human. Everybody has blemishes. And I don't go through and fix that in every single image, particularly one from this distance. I might not go in and fix every blemish because nobody's ever going to see that. But in a favorite, like a sneak peek or a close-up, I'm going to go in and actually fix all those blemishes. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And it's so amazing. It's going to blow your mind. So this image, I'm pretty happy with it. I probably wouldn't do much else. I might crop it a little bit. This is the crop, universal crop symbol. You're probably familiar with that from just editing things on your phone. But I like to, it automatically puts up the rule of thirds, if you're familiar with that. And I might just put her eyeballs right on that line and call that a pretty good image. But let's move to one that's more close up, because this is where we get to play a little bit more with the really fun tools. So I'm going to apply my preset, and that's going to give us a good starting point. And I'm pretty happy with that too. It might be a little green, a little cool. So I'm going to warm it up just a little bit, add a little more magenta. And then this is what like blows your mind. This is going to rock your world. So I choose this little eraser, and I don't want, they've got they're beta testing some generative AI, but I'm not going to even use any of that. But so I get this little eraser, and I'm just going to click where I want blemishes to be removed. And it just makes them disappear. It is mind blowing. And then we're going to do a couple other little things that's going to make it even better. Erasers on her forehead. Those are all these little blemishes that I am removing. So I'm going to hit enter to make that go, and then watch the before and after. Isn't that crazy? And so I can go in, like there's a couple little, I mean, she has amazing skin, but everybody has got, you know, a few large pores or a little pimple. Nobody's skin is perfect. So I can fix those. Yeah. Boom, they're gone. And so if I zoom out a little bit, you can see the before and the after. And then I'm going to use this amazing tool. So I click on this little, it's a circle that's got almost like a mesh in it. And I get this brush, and I'm going to choose Soften Skin Light, because I don't like to make people look like airbrushed. I like for you to actually have texture on your face like a human being. So I'm going to go soften skin light, and that gives me basically a paintbrush. And you won't see it right away. It takes a second to work, but slowly you will see all those little, just, it gets some of that extra texture, and it's like a miniature airbrushing. So we've got the before, go before and after. And then if we want to go in a little bit more, sometimes like on a sneak peek or a special one, I don't do this on every image, but on a special image, I'll go in and use the full softened skin. And I'll go right underneath the eyes. So we all have a little darkness under our eyes that shows up. And then that gets rid of a little bit of those darker tones under the eyes. And then we can go in. You can see there's raining. There's raindrops in her hair if you zoom in really far. We can go in and I can use this tool to brighten her eyes even, which is super fun. Let's see, iris enhance. So I'm going to go in, just going to make this tool a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to highlight her eyes. And it's just going to brighten them up just a little bit, not in an unnatural way, just really soft and natural. And then I'm going to zoom back out. Let's see what we've got. And sometimes I'll use the softened skin on like arms or chest just so that it matches the softened skin on the face. I'm going to soften skin light. I'm just going to use a big old brush. It just doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of go over it. Boom, boom. So we've got our before and our after. Let's pick another one. Let's pick one with teeth because there is a cool teeth tool. Let's do this one. It looks a little green to me, so I might add a little bit more magenta, and a little bit more yellow. All right, so this one I'm going to show you teeth whitening, which is a crazy cool tool. So I zoom way in on the teeth. Nobody's teeth are perfectly white, and we're not going to make them look perfectly white because that's just not human. But we can make them look just a little bit whiter. Just we're making everybody look the best version of themselves, right? We're not trying to make anybody look like a plastic Barbie doll. So when I first paint it on, it's going to be ridiculously white, way too white. But you can see kind of before, after. And then I'm just going to turn it down so it's not like blindingly white. It's just slightly whiter. It's looking like maybe she did some crest white strips. And then I can look at it and be like, well, is that too white? Is it not too white? I think it looks pretty good. And then I probably wouldn't go crazy with blemishes on a picture like this. It's not super close up. I might just pop out a few of these bigger ones, little discolorations. And then I would probably just do softened skin for the most part. It's just going to soften everything up a little bit. She does have a little bit of darkness under her eyes, especially this eye, because it was shadowy on that side. So I might go in, grab the brush, and choose the full softened skin and make my brush smaller. A lot of almost painting that goes into it. But I don't go overboard. Some photographers like to make people look really very airbrushed, and I'm not a fan of that. And I might soften. She's got some bruises here. All you dancers are always getting all bruised up. So I might go in and just remove this bruise, remove this bruise. Keep it moving around. So let's see. That one's gone. Got a little bit of the other one still up there. Got a little bruise here. A little bit here. So go away. There we go. So before, after. Isn't that amazing? So then we've got a pretty good image here. I might just leave it like that. I might brighten her eyes, but no, I think they're fine. I think they're good. Let's do one. She did 2 outfits. So let's pick one from her second outfit. Let's see. Let's do this one because this one we can really work on. It's got all the things. So we can see some blemishes. We can see some dark, shadows. We can always do teeth in any teeth smiley ones. We've also got some flyaway hairs. So I might be able to get rid of these. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. So I'm going to try painting over these and see if it'll work. It may or may not. Sometimes I'll leave flyaways there, but the wind was really pumping. So I'm going to just try a little section and see if it works. So it's like analyzing what's around it, and then it did work. So it's really getting rid of a lot of those flyaways. I won't do them all right now and bore you to death, but I thought it might be fun for you guys just to see how some of these things work. Boom. So we went from all those flyaways to way fewer, which is awesome. I'll do the rest of them later so that you don't get bored waiting for me to do them all. So I am going to get rid of some of these blemishes. The way the light was hitting her was not as flattering as some of the other images, but this is a super crisp, clear photo. You can see every single eyelash. That's what we're always going for. So it's worth keeping to me. And she's gorgeous no matter what. So I can fix these little lighting issues in this one. So I'm just going to get rid of these larger blemishes. But you can see how so many people are like, why do photographers charge so much? Each image takes 5 seconds and I'm only taking an hour photo shoot. They don't realize that the amount of time that we spend doing all of these things behind the scenes. There they go. Woohoo. I have fun doing it. Don't get me wrong. I think I can just soften skin for the rest of it. So then I'm going to go in, I'm going to soften skin. And I try to avoid her eyes with the softened skin because it doesn't just paint on skin, it'll soften anything that you paint over. So I don't want to, see, I just did a little bit. I don't want to paint over her eyes with softness. I want those to be nice and crisp. I don't want to paint over her lips or teeth with softness. I want that to be nice and crisp. Some of this darkness. So I can use this tool called Dodge to take away shadows, but I might just use the softened skin under her eyes again. The Dodge tool will reduce exposure and the burn tool increases exposure. I think I'm just going to use this. And I'll brighten her eyes, and then this one will be done. Yeah, that helped. I'm gonna zoom in these eyeballs. I'm gonna choose Iris Enhance. I'm gonna paint over her eyes. Think about it for a hot second. Beautiful. Usually after I edit, I'll walk away. Yeah, I like that better. I might walk away from it for a little bit and then look at it again. And then when I look at it again, I make minor tweaks. I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, there's another thing that's really cool. Let me show you this before I just kind of wrap up. So you can choose this and you can select the subject, select the sky, or select the background. So if I wanted to bring more attention to her, I might select the background because she's kind of the same brightness as the background. So I could desaturate the background and make it darker to make her pop, or I could increase the exposure in the background and make her pop because she is darker than the background. That's what I usually like to do because that's my style. How did it do that funky thing? I'm gonna have to fix that later. So I might just increase the exposure of the background. Not that much. Just a little bit so that she kind of stands out a little bit more. So I hope that that little tutorial was helpful for you. And I know it ended a little bit abruptly, but I am just learning how to edit video. That is not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is photo. So I apologize for the jumpiness at points and the abrupt ending. But if this is something that you like, hit that like button, maybe hit subscribe, and I will be sending out more videos soon.